Welcome to iConnect, a podcast from Ocular Melanoma UK, where real people share real stories about life with and beyond this and other rare cancers. Ocular Melanoma UK knows just how powerful it can be to hear from others who truly understand the journey. From laughter to loss, science to support, each episode connects voices from across the ocular melanoma community. iConnect, bringing together people and stories. Today on iConnect, we're joined by someone familiar to many of us, journalist, author, former BBC technology correspondent and lifelong storyteller Rory Cellan-Jones. For decades, Rory explained the world to us, reporting on technology, innovation, and the way our lives were being reshaped. But in 2004, life changed for him personally when he was diagnosed with ocular melanoma, a moment that shifted things in his world and work. Since then, Rory has spoken openly about his health, documenting his additional diagnosis of Parkinson's through his podcast, Movers and Shakers. His honesty, clarity, and humour have helped countless people feel far less alone. Through much of it, a beautiful Romanian rescue dog named Sophie has been a constant, steadying presence. Today, we talk about diagnosis shock, living with rare cancer, accepting a Parkinson's diagnosis, adapting to change, and what a lifetime in journalism has taught him. Rory, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, well, great to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, I don't actually know where to start. So, I mean, there's many a person probably, I've given you a little intro already, but for people who don't know your background, do you want to just talk us through a little bit of your career and then why you and I kind of came about?
Okay. So I was a 40-year veteran of the BBC, a journalist at the BBC. I joined shortly after, not straight out of university, but a couple of months after university, where I managed to get a very short-term contract in the BBC in Leeds. And then I built a BBC career, which culminated in me being the technology correspondent for 15 years, which was a great job where I got to, for instance, see the unveiling of the original iPhone, interview people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, and generally play around with gadgets. So what's not to like?
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah. And I got made redundant, took redundancy in 2021 when they moved my job to Scotland, which didn't quite fit with my lifestyle. But I'd had a very good run, and I left at I think a really good time, because I was young enough to start doing a few other things. So I've done a bunch of podcasting. And I've got what's called a Substack, which is a newsletter where I write about health and technology. So I've carried on the technology, but with a real focus on health, because for obvious reasons, I've got two serious conditions, so plenty to write about.
Well, we've come together because a fellow colleague and friend of mine, Sally Bundock, said, "Oh, I'm sure there's a guy at work that's got the same cancer as you." And I'm like, "No." He said, No, I'm sure he has. And he's doing some filming about it because he's our tech geek." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I reached out to you on Twitter and said, "Apparently," and you were like, "Yes, I have." But apart from having ocular melanoma, let's just touch briefly on your other, we can talk about it for an hour by all means, but your other condition.
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in early 2019, which is, a progressive, incurable disease, but with a fairly slow trajectory, luckily. So I'm six years in, and one of the things I do is an increasingly popular, he says, podcast about Parkinson's with a group of former BBC journalists and a judge.
Okay. And
Movers and Shakers.
Okay, very good. Fabulous. Why the other people? Have they got a connection to Parkinson's as well, or
They've
is
all
it?
got Parkinson's. We've all got Parkinson's.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
We meet in this pub in Notting Hill, uh, and we'd been having kind of meetings every 6 weeks or so, and then the judge, who is a very enthusiastic person, uh, banged on about us first writing a book, and we said that was a terrible idea, and then we should do a podcast, and we thought that was not such a terrible idea, and it's been a big success.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, what a wonderful title as well. That's fabulous. So, 2019, when you took your Parkinson's diagnosis, you were already well into ocular melanoma because you were diagnosed and treated first back in 2004. Am I
Well,
right?
right at the end, yeah. So let me tell you the story. Um, I we'd been on a sort of half-term October holiday where we'd been in Italy with our kids, and I was reading stories to the younger one, and the words seemed to be swimming in front of my eyes. I thought there's something wrong here, and I mean, I'd always been short-sighted, and had contact lenses and so on, and never brilliant eyesight. But I went to the opticians, our local opticians, who were really good, and they spotted this melanoma, which obviously was deeply scary. And I was referred to Moorfields Hospital. So this was just before Christmas 2004. And in the January, after I'd been on a skiing holiday, I decided, well, I'm going on my damn skiing holiday, because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was operated on with they put a radioactive plaque behind my eye. I was in a lead-lined room for a week, and then they took it out again, and on we went.
Yeah. I've been there, done that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, did the same thing. And then you were monitored right the way since your diagnosis,
yeah.
I
Ever
presume.
since I have been a customer of Moorfields, and first, very frequently monitored. In recent years, um, bigger gaps, but I've been going to the oncology clinic at Moorfields for more than 20 years. And
Gosh.
what I didn't realize at the time, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure I asked that many questions. I was so frightened that I just put my hands in the doctor, put my health in the doctor's hands, and let it happen. And what I didn't realize was that the tumor was still there, kind of dormant, but they were keeping a very close eye on it. And every time I went, there seemed to be quite a sort of intense debate about is it is it bigger? Is it static? Is it growing? Is it not? And every now and then they decided, oh, it might be growing a bit, and they would do something. So after 3 or 4 years, I had a bit of laser treatment, which was very, it was an outpatient thing, not a big deal like the original thing. And that happened 2 or 3 times, and then they'd look at it and say, "Oh, it's all right again." And then they go, "Is it?" And in 2019, 14 years after uh, original diagnosis, and a few months after I'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's, I just went for the regular visit, and they went, "Is it? Isn't it? Is it? Isn't it?" And then they started talking about this thing called proton beam, which I had never heard of, and they decided to do that, which uh, I'm still not quite sure why. Again, the doctors decide, and the thing about Moorfields is, it, in some ways, it's a bit chaotic. Well, it used to be. You used to turn up for the clinic, and there were, they say 35 people here. You'll wait between 3 and 4 hours. You think, oh God, and you would be shuttled around the hospital to go and do different tests. I always remember there was an ultrasound machine in one big room occupied by one lady, and that was a real sort of uh, uh, hurdle to clear, uh, huge queues. Um, But at the end of it, you would then be in the presence with the doctors of probably the world's leading experts on this thing. So I
Yeah.
always found that reassuring. I found the process a bit irritating in sort of hot basement in
Yeah.
Moorfield, but I kind of trusted the doctors, and didn't really ask too many questions, which maybe I should have done. But there we are.
Well, there you are. And then you ended up in Clatterbridge,
Yeah.
and thank you very much for your filming abilities. I don't know if you took a member of the BBC crew with you. I don't know.
No,
I don't know who filmed it.
I filmed it on my. I think a couple of shots were done. My wife was there at the beginning, and a friend came and stayed for the second half of the week, and he may have wielded the camera once or twice, but mostly it was like this.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful kind of few moments of
It's a video diary.
really behind the scenes of
Yeah.
what happens if you get sent for proton beam. So I'll pop the link up actually if anyone's kind of staring down the barrel of a proton beam machine. Rory's advice is really quite useful. And
The thing about it was probably the most pleasant medical experience I've had, because there was a bit of unpleasantness. I had to have a little operation in Moorfields to sort of put the markers in for where they would fire at, and that was mildly painful. But once we got to Clatterbridge, they put you up in a hotel for the week, perfectly pleasant hotel, and you turn up at the proton beam center. My appointment was at 11. There were, various other people I could see wandering around the hotel with patches on who were, you're on the same mission as me. But my time was 11. They zapped me, 11:15. I was out, and the rest of the day was mine, and it was the
yes,
summer. It was quite pleasant weather. So it was absolutely fine.
and I would imagine having so recently been diagnosed with your Parkinson's, I don't know whether it was a bit of a kind of, I could really do without this type moment, or I don't, how on earth did you cope with the mixed
Well,
emotions?
the funny thing was that somehow having had the melanoma made the Parkinson's a bit kind of, oh, well, it's just another thing. It didn't feel as scary. And I was just kind of, oh, another damn thing. So, and at that stage, my Parkinson's was not particularly noticeable. I was dragging my right foot a bit and a bit of a tremor. And it's got worse in the last few years, but it 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 put the ocular melanoma put the Parkinson's in perspective, I suppose.
Wow. Okay, that says something,
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't it? And are you monitored for? Is your liver monitored? Do you go down that route at all?
Am I what? Sorry.
Is your liver monitored for
Yes,
ocular
yes,
melanoma? Okay, you
yeah.
do.
I get. I mean, that's what I found the most frightening, I suppose. Yeah, and it's now once a year an MRI, whereas it used
Okay.
to be an ultrasound. But I got sent to this what was basically an obs and gynae ward, and I was the bloke having his liver ultrasounded while everybody else was having their babies looked at.
Okay, probably not the best place to
No.
be. Yeah, come out with it. So it's got a heartbeat. It's really
Yeah.
concerning. Although these days, as a man, if you go for an X-ray or an MRI, you have to declare and sign the "I am not pregnant"
Yes, I
document,
know.
which
Yeah,
is another avenue of it.
yeah.
But you've done so well in documenting everything, and in my research to today, I came across your Substack, and December the 8th, you wrote about the miracle of sight. And I do believe you took a heck of a risk and underwent recent cataract
Yeah,
surgery.
let me tell you about this. So,
Yeah, I do.
um, obviously, the proton beam. The interesting thing about that was it seems to be really slow, because after my visit to Clatterbridge. About 6 months later, I had another appointment at Moorfields to check them, and they said, nothing's happened yet. And I was kind of hugely disappointed at first. And they said, no, don't worry, this is a really slow old business. And then as the years passed, they said, yeah, it's really moribund. And they also told me, I thought for the first time, that I actually had quite a small tumour. And I thought, I wish you told me that at the beginning.
20 years I've worried
Yeah,
about this massive
exactly.
tumour.
Yeah, exactly. But they began to sort of warn me about other things and about, glaucoma and stuff like that. And the critical eye, had by now lost all its vision. I mean, originally back 20 years ago, I lost a lot of central vision, and there was a bit of peripheral. And I was advised to not drive at night, which was my poor wife had to drive if we were going out for dinner. So eventually, she said, "I had enough of this. We're getting a bloody taxi." um, and yeah, so other aspects of my eye health began to come up at the meetings, but everything seemed okay. And then a few months ago, I found that my one eye was not really delivering very good sight. My one good eye, I was getting sort of fuzziness and sort of double vision. So I'd be watching the football on the television, and there'd be 22 players aside.
It's bad enough with the 11 aside.
Yes, yeah. And I'd had a contact lens, and I'd always had extra glasses for what I call my driving and football glasses, so that I could my long vision would be better. But it was just getting really bad. And for instance, I couldn't read train indicator boards. I used to sometimes hold my phone up and zoom in with my phone to find out what platform I was on. So that was getting quite disabling. And I went to my optician, the same one that had spotted the melanoma in the first place, for a routine eye test. And there's a young man there, a, a, a new boy, and he seemed really professional and took loads of photos. They've got great high-tech equipment at this optometrist. And he couldn't work out what was wrong, because he couldn't see anything wrong. And then, because he was swapping in and out the lenses to try and get me better sight. And I still could not get beyond, row 2 of the sight chart. And then this lovely lady, Joy, who co-owns the place with her husband and is semi-retired, and it happened to be in, and she popped in to say hi. She said, "What's the problem?" And she said, "Oh, have you tried," to the guy, "have you tried pinhole?" And he said, "No." And she got this piece of card with holes in it, and I looked through it and I could see stuff. And she just said, "Cataract." That's it. And immediately referred me to my GP and recommended I be referred to Moorfields for that.
I am back.
Yes, exactly. And Moorfields has an outpost at our local hospital, Ealing, which is, between you and me, is not the greatest hospital on earth. And I'd had some difficult dealings with it when I broke my elbow in a fall a couple of years ago. So I wasn't that keen, but it has a distinct clinic which just does cataracts there. And so I was referred, and it all happened pretty quickly. I got the sort of appointment to go and be looked at and discuss it and everything. And got told that, yeah, the lady at the optician was right. I had a cataract, and I could have it seen to. And what did I think? And there were risks, but they looked very low. And it's a fairly routine operation. There's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you lose the sight in that eye. But of course, for me, this was much more of a difficult decision, because I'd only got one eye, and if that went wrong, I'm blind. So it was a fairly nerve-wracking thing to do, sort of preying on my mind. But they got me an appointment pretty quickly. We're speaking just 5 days after I had the appointment. Uh,
Wow.
uh, Last Friday.
You didn't have much time to actually think about it then.
Well, yeah, I mean, I signed the consent form, and I looked at the consent form afterwards, and it had these, one in 1,000 numbers, but it did say higher risk because one eye, only one
Mm.
eye. And uh, I had the operation, and it was I was sedated but conscious, and the surgeon was talking to me throughout, and it was all seemed pretty good. But what I hadn't quite got to grips with is they put a bandage over the eye, obviously, and I thought that when I sat in the waiting room for a bit, and my son was coming to pick me up, they would they'd take that off and put just a sort of eye shield on. But no, they said I had to wear this bandage overnight. So I was blind. I was completely blind. And first, my poor son had to sort of maneuver me into the lift and down the hospital corridor and out into the rainy car park and to his car. And I felt, like a shaky, blind old man, which is what I was. And I got home, and my dear wife sat me on the sofa and put a little stool by it and guided my hand to a glass of wine. But I was completely helpless, and we had a takeaway, for instance, and which we always have on a Friday night, and eating a lamb biryani with a fork when you can't see was a very approximate business. My wife's going, "There's a piece of lamb, left a bit, oh, you've dropped it." You know? But it was a real wake up, because we've lived in this house where I am now for 33 years.
Okay.
And so in theory, I know it, every inch of it, but I was just I had to be taken everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and, yeah, it was a real flavor of what it would be like to be blind, and how helpless I would be. And then I don't sleep very well anyway, but I usually wake up and look at the clock and know what time it is. And of course, I woke up, I had no idea what the time was, just lay there for hours upon hour. And then my wife woke at 6 and said, "Well, should we get the bandage off?" And she went to make a cup of tea and came back with sort of boiled water, sterilized water, began to pull the bandage off. And when it came off, it was a miracle. I had sight better in this eye than I'd had for probably more than 50 years.
Wow.
Um, and we've got a dog that is quite a famous
She is
dog.
very famous.
Yes, Sophie, our rescue dog. And she was sat or stood at the foot of the bed, and I could just see her in every hair on her back.
Oh, wow.
It was stunning, actually.
Yeah.
So
The
that
miracle of sight.
yeah, exactly. Mm.
Oh, I'm so pleased for you. I mean, it was a question I didn't want to interrupt you. Does Parkinson's have any effect on your vision at all? Can that be?
Well, that's a good question. It's not noted as one of there are loads of symptoms of Parkinson's, but somewhere in the medical literature, I spotted there's supposed to be a potential link between melanoma, ocular melanoma, and Parkinson's, and it was quite an eye opener to me, because I've got a great Parkinson's consultant. I've got a great I've had a series of great eye consultants, but they're completely siloed.
Mm.
I'm the one that has to communicate between them.
Gosh, okay. So somewhere in the literature there is all right, I'll look a little bit further
Yeah,
into that.
yeah,
That'll be
yeah,
a question for ChatGPT over lunch today.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have you found the, I don't know, I mean, how do you live your life with there is an emotional uncertainty due to your health? I mean, thank goodness you've now got this incredible vision in your right eye,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah,
has opened your world up, I would imagine.
yeah.
But you're living with two actually reasonably uncertain conditions. Emotionally, have you struggled? Is that a too personal question to ask?
No, it's not at all a super. I mean, I struggled a lot at the beginning of the ocular melanoma, but that was dramatic in a way that Parkinson's has not been. Parkinson's is, oh God, is it getting worse? Oh, I think it is getting a little bit worse, but it's little steps down the slope. Whereas the eye cancer appeared to be far more frightening. But I got over that and gradually got, put it to the back of my mind. And I kind of have got that parked now as something that, there are plenty of things to worry about in life. As they only see me every 8 months, I think that they must be fairly confident in me. So I'm worrying more about the Parkinson's, partly because I'm writing a book about the hunt for a cure for Parkinson's. So that is absorbing a lot of my headspace.
Are you medicated for it at all? Is there a
Massively
medication?
medicated. Oh
Okay.
God, I've got. I should have my pills with me. At the moment, I'm taking a ton of pills, and I'm also taking these eye drops, different kinds of eye drops. So every hour, oh God, what is it now?
Yeah, what? At least you can see what you're taking.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm taking forms of dopamine, levodopa, which is the symptomatic drug,
Okay.
which is very important to have.
Do you have a worse symptom in particular? Is there anything that's kind of worse than something else?
Well, yeah, I
You
mean, it's a it's one's walking, uh, and we talk in the Parkinson's world about being on or off. On being when your drugs are working, and off when you're just due another one, and things go bad. And I didn't notice this at all at first, but just in the last couple of years, I can really go off, and then I feel like stumbling old man. You get the fixed face and sort of lurching forward, and that's not so good.
Okay.
Actually, the worst thing for me at the moment is sleep. I get to sleep pretty easily, but I wake up and there's a thing called restless leg syndrome, which I think I have. Uh, and, I toss and turn and can't get much sleep. And I end up coming down to the spare room so not to disturb my wife. So that is an issue.
Yeah, I can imagine incredibly frustrating. You talk about your walking. Are you able to go out for a walk? You have Sophie. We've mentioned Sophie. How did Sophie
Yeah.
come about? I knew about Cabbage, but how did you end up with Sophie?
Well, Sophie, we lost Cabbage, who was a lovely collie cross rescue dog. She was pretty old. She died, and we were both, pretty cut up about it. My wife didn't want to get a new dog in a hurry, and then towards the end of the year, she said, "Yeah, I'm ready." And I had great difficulty in trying to find a British rescue dog. They all seem to be staffies or have issues that, oh, you're not suitable for this dog, whatever. And then I met a neighbor in the street who had a cute little terrier with a limp, had been hurt in a traffic accident. And I said, where's that dog come from? She said, it's come from Romania. And we ended up getting a dog from Romania, brought over by this charity. It arrived in the middle of the night, just before Christmas 3 years ago, and was the most frightened dog in the world. And literally lived behind our sofa for about 90% of the first 6 months she was with us, and has gradually got more confident. But I was going to say, I'll just bring her in to see you. But I had a book out about it, and this was the cardboard cutout that they were supposed to have in the shops. And
that's
she's a very
fabulous.
pretty dog, I have to say.
She is, and she's become incredibly famous. I know
Yeah,
she's got lots of followers. And
yeah.
have you written a book about her as well?
I have. I have.
Okay. For those of you listening and driving, Rory is now holding up his book, Sophie from Romania. Oh, bless her. But are you able to walk her?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, I did have a really terrible lower back pain um, a few months ago, and that kind of inhibited me. And that, I mean, who knows whether it was a symptom of Parkinson's or not? It's a thing that I'd had before. I ended up going private and getting an injection in my back, and that sorted that out. But generally, you know, we want to go further than she does. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, she's still very cautious, and if there are ever, loud children or anything about that, she, you know, gets very scared and screws herself up into a ball and want to go no further.
You're a woman after my own heart.
Yeah.
So, since you've had her, is there anything that I haven't read your book? I've got to be honest. Is there anything in the book that you've that's been the most awe-inspiring, or what actually inspired you to write the book to start with?
Well, I'll be brutally frank. I was writing another book. I had a memoir out about my mother and the extraordinary story of my birth. I was the result of a BBC affair. There's just a little flavour
Oh,
there. And my agent called me, and I'm very active on social media, and people have been fascinated by the story of the dog. And she said, "I've got 5 major publishers wanting to know if you're going to write a book." So I had to write a book.
and that
And
was, they asked you specifically about the dog because of all the social
yeah,
media.
yeah.
Okay.
And but the book, there's quite a lot about Parkinson's in the book as well,
Okay.
because one of the reasons, besides the fact that we'd grown very fond of our last dog, that to have a dog was exercise is really important with Parkinson's, and the morning dog walk, and I always used to go out first with the dog, rain or shine, 7 o'clock. It was a routine. That's what we'd been hoping for with Sophie, and it took more than a year for the first dog walk to happen.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, bless her. I saw the videos of her going out on her first walk. I do
yeah,
remember that. So I
yeah,
was an avid follower of you
yeah,
by that time. So exercise is very important. I mean, it's very important for all of us for a number of reasons, but
yeah,
particularly when you're struggling with a neurological, physiological
yeah,
condition, I can imagine. And you're obviously very public with all of it. I mean, your
yeah.
podcast, and have you found advocacy work that has it helped you, or do you think that I mean, what we're doing today, we're talking about a rare cancer, we're talking
Yeah.
about a lived condition that you've also
Mm,
got. I just think, I mean, I know there's so many people now talk about the menopause, and there's a lot of taboo subjects, which with the dawn of everybody living on their phones,
mm.
people are talking a lot more. I mean, your world in journalism to now talking about health and stuff, and going from tech to medicine. What's the response been?
Well, the response in particular to the podcast uh, that I do with these colleagues has been amazing, and people saying, "Thank goodness this is being talked about, Parkinson's, in a way it never has before." And we've also learned, lots of bad things about the way people are treated, the standard of care they get, the long wait for a diagnosis because there are not enough neurologists. So it's kind of turned us into campaigners, which we never expected. But personally, as someone who was a journalist for 40 years and um, kind of lived and breathed it, it's been great for me because it's given me a new subject, given me new material, frankly, which I wouldn't have otherwise had. So, uh, you know, there, there, there are not, there are no days where I sit around thinking, what shall I do today? I think, oh God, I need, need to write another chapter in it in the next book, and you know,
Do you want to tell us about your next book, or
and
is
my
it a
next book
secret?
is a kind of serious book about the hunt for a cure for Parkinson's, and whether artificial intelligence could make a difference. And it's quite challenging for me because I come from a completely unscientific background. I did modern languages at university, and I went this week to the Dementia Research Institute conference in Manchester, which was full of brilliant research scientists. And I didn't understand a word of some of the presentations, but they got me on stage to be a patient with Parkinson's. They cover Parkinson's amongst other things.
Yeah.
And they said that that was a valuable insight for them. So, and I got, 3 or 4 stories out of it, or
Okay.
great contacts of people. 2 people came up to me and said, "We're trying to research the impact of exercise on people, and do clinical trials on it," which is really interesting because it's unlike with a drug. You give somebody a placebo, you can't, well, you can have a control
You can
group
just,
that
yeah,
sit in front of the telly with the remote control, but
yeah.
it's not quite the same.
Okay, and with AI coming into it, do you understand, because of your technology reporting and all the rest of it, do you understand how AI is progressing in medicine? I mean, they're talking about for AI reading our scan results and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, mm,
So, what have you
yes.
learned?
Well, I think that the latest excitement is more about drug discovery. So finding new drugs is an incredibly lengthy and expensive business. We had what was supposed to be the breakthrough drug in Parkinson's reached its final phase 3 trial, and it failed last year. Uh, and I look back, and they'd spent 16 years trying, trialing it and thinking it was working, and then decided,
What did it fail on?
well, it did. It didn't. It That was what they call a double-blinded placebo-controlled trial. So
Okay,
people were either getting the drug or they were getting basically a sugared
next
water.
best alternative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
And both groups did reasonably well.
Oh,
So the placebo effect, and the whole point is that what's supposed to happen is, you know, the drug's supposed to perform like that and the placebo like that, and instead they were kind of neck and neck. So that's really disappointing.
that's interesting, though. You say the placebo effect, because with a neurological condition,
Yeah,
sometimes the placebo effect actually can be
yeah,
that
and
powerful.
I'm all in favour of the placebo effect. If
Yeah.
you feel better, you feel better.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
actually doesn't matter why or
What's not
how.
what's not to like? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Amazing. And for now, like, I've got a kind of prompt question. What matters most to you? But you've got so much going on. I mean, you've got your family. You've got where are you at with the kids?
Uh, grown up, and we've got 2 grandkids. So yeah,
And you get to spend time with them. I know you're busy writing your
yeah,
books and
yeah.
stuff.
No, they. In fact, I've just had a call that my grandson's been sent home from nursery, and could I go and hold the fort for an hour or so this afternoon to give his mum, who works from home, a bit of time to do some work. So yeah,
Oh, that's lovely. So you
yeah,
do get to spend time with the family as
we
well.
do. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And you're a long way from Scotland. Have you got randomly that the BBC wanted to send you up there after being in West London for 30 odd
Well,
years
it
for
was
them?
part of the thing where they're moving various specialisms out of London. Now, I could sort of see why they wanted to do it. And actually, it happened when I was in danger of becoming one of those grumpy old people who sit in the corner saying things ain't what they used to be. So it was a kick up the backside, and it's been really good for me.
Yeah, I'm so pleased for you. I mean, I'm devastated that you've ended up with Parkinson's as well. As I mean, living with ocular melanoma is a slap in the face, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's stressful. But
yeah.
to end up with a neurological condition, I admire you, and I know I'm not alone in the admiration that we have for you for just your awareness and raising so much awareness, your practical wisdom, your emotional reassurance, and everything is an absolute pleasure. When you look at the life that you've had, the stories you've told, the challenges that you have come across, what are you most grateful for? Is there an answer you can give me to an actual question?
What am I most grateful for? One of my colleagues, Paul Mayhew Archer, who's further down the Parkinson's road than I am. He's a comedy script writer. Said on one of our episodes that actually, in some ways, he's quite glad he got Parkinson's because it's given him a whole new bunch of material. He does a stand-up comedy show about Parkinson's. He sees the funny side. He's got a movie coming out with sort of a Hollywood director all about Parkinson's. So, and I feel similarly that, I have learned an awful lot. I've met some fascinating people that I would never have met. I'm keeping this slightly addled brain ticking over in a way that I might not have if I didn't have this. So it's trying to, take the hand you've got and do the best you can with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's random, isn't it? You can sit here, or two of us can probably sit here and both say, I'm almost pleased that it happened, because without it, X, Y, and Z's pathway would have been very, very different.
Yeah.
And I very much live for the day. And I know you do take your whole world and encompass it in daily life and share it so beautifully with everybody else. We are all so incredibly grateful for that. Any thoughts or advice for people facing uncertainty of an illness like this? What would Rory's advice be?
Oh golly. Well, I'm not sure that I'm best placed because I certainly with ocular melanoma, I buried my head in the sand and that worked for me. Just think about what works for you, and actually, what we're doing now, that really does work. I think patient groups are incredibly important. That's certainly what we found in Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Finding other people who are the only ones who, really understand what you're going through. And we always say at the beginning of our episode, we're here for a laugh and a moan. And I think both are important. And you need to find your kind of tribe that you can laugh about it and moan about it and cry about it.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we say when we welcome people to the Ocular Melanoma Facebook, this is very much the most amazing, the best bunch of people for the worst possible reason.
Yeah.
Kind of all collaborated together, and advocacy and communication, I think, is very much key and a part of learning. I mean, like you say, you've just been up to learn about some research, and we're forever looking into cures and clinical trials that are coming about. And without us as patient groups and patient advocates, the drive for the medical profession, I think, would be stumped, because they actually need us anyway. At the end of the day, to go forward with all of this. Rory, thank you ever so much for your time. I do hope everything's okay with the little one that you're going to go and sit on this afternoon, as it were.
Oh dear.
And I will put some references on so that people can find links to your books, your podcast link as well. And I wish you all the best.
Well, Joanne, it's been a delight. So thank you very much.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much, Rory. Have a great day. If you or someone you know has been affected by the topics discussed in this episode, support and information are available. You can visit Ocular Melanoma UK at www.omuk.org for guidance, resources, to connect with our helpline and others who understand. Remember, no one should face ocular melanoma alone.